Hey YouTube, welcome back to another video. So today we're actually going to be caught up, kinda sorta. I've been still kinda struggling behind, and we're gonna get a new update here in today actually. Kappa's gonna be here for a little bit. Charlotte leaves today. And just really quickly, I'm hoping to get this kind of pushed out before Charlotte goes away. Realistically, if you're playing PvP, Charlotte is a very good character for you to pull. Definitely should actually grab her. I'm covering Kappa though, because Charlotte currently, what I'll say is that Charlotte really isn't that great in the meta right now, because Charlotte is very helpful for boosting PvP teams that consist of like Demiurge, Jaste, Vlada, and Nadia. Because essentially you use those four and you're able to burst really hard. However, the meta has kind of gone away from them for right now because of Gnosis Nella. And so Charlotte isn't seeing nearly as much play as she normally would, which is why I'm doing Kappa. I don't think Charlotte's really worth doing right now because of I don't think she's worth doing right now because it would be very hard for me to kind of show you how Charlotte works in a meta that isn't going to allow me to really show you that, and more just kind of tell you that. So I'm not going to be doing a Charlotte showcase. I might do the breakdown if you guys really want me to. Let me know if you do, but I definitely will if that's what you guys want. But we are going to be going over Kappa. So Kappa is pretty strong. She's very helpful in a lot of PvE and PvP content, more so PvE, I believe. At least that's where I've found her being more helpful. Leave a comment down below right now letting me know what kind of gear set you think I'm going to recommend for her. And then when I get to the gear, reply to your comment and let me know if you were right on your own guess. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the skills. So her first skill is called the Ruthless Onslaught. Attacks an enemy and grants a barrier to the caster for 2 turns, proportional to the caster's defense, and the damage dealt increases proportional to defense instead of attack. So she works like Cannon does. Her skills are based off of defense instead of offense, or her attack stat. They take the best offense is a great defense a little too seriously. Her burst 1 is a grants a barrier to all allies proportional to her defense. At level 2, after attacking, activates Exile, which is her passive skill, and we will get into that here in a second. And then her burst 3 changes to an enhanced skill, and penetration gets increased while also still doing everything else. Remember, if you do it at level 2, you also get the level 1 benefits. If you do it at level 3, you get the level 2 and level 1 benefits. At max level, you do get to increase the barrier strength, which I'm not entirely sure how much stronger it actually is, but it's definitely worth getting just to find out how strong that barrier will really get. The next one, Exile. This is the one that gets triggered on the burst 2. The triggered effect grants increased defense to all allies for 2 turns, then attacks all enemies. Water enemies take additional fixed damage equal to Kappa's defense. Damage dealt increases proportional to damage, the damage dealt increases proportional to damage. Damage dealt increases proportional to defense instead of attack. And then if you max it out at level 5, the damage dealt also increases proportional to the target's missing health. So I'm not sure if that's her missing health or your opponent's missing health. I don't actually know for sure. I haven't been able to test it. I have been intermediate skill manual dry. I have 2 of them, and I have 45 of the professionals. So I'm struggling with this a little bit. But I believe with how it's saying, it is going to do more damage the lower health they are, is my guess. The enemy that you're hitting. Again, it scales proportional to her defense rather than her attack, and the increased defense buff is 50%. 50% increased defense. So it not only will it make everyone take less damage, but it'll also buff her damage output a little bit as well. Next is Desert's Wrath. It removes all buffs and debuffs from the caster and target and attacks an enemy, and it ignores the target's resilience. When the enemy is water element or killed, activates Exile. Damage dealt greatly increases proportional to defense instead of attack. So again, her damage is going to go up based on her defense rather than attack. Very anti-water, which is why she's very helpful in PvE content, because she's great for the Glycilis boss, and she's also great for Tyrant Toddler. Both of those bosses she does a very, very, very good job dealing with, especially because the Tyrant Toddler, as you get later on into his levels, there's no way to have immunity against his debuffs. I'm not dawdling, I am explaining. Please, give me some patience here. Anyway, Tyrant Toddler inflicts a debuff that bypasses any immunity buff that you have. However, it does not bypass the remove all buff effect and all debuff effect. So you can strip Kappa's debuffs right off of her, so then she's still able to do a good amount of damage, and it just is one less thing for you to worry about on that boss fight. It is really helpful in my opinion. She is a skill chain companion. Damage dealt by skill chain attacks of the caster increase proportional to defense instead of attack, and after attacking increases defense for 2 turns. Once again, getting that increased defense, very, very helpful. Now, we're going to go over her exclusive equipment. Guardian's Qualification has a critical hit chance to water plus 15%, so an additional 15% crit chance only when you're hitting water enemies. So if you're only going to be using her for PvE, and you're only going to be realistically using her against water bosses, you don't need to get your crit chance to 100%. You can get it to 85%, and it will be just as good. On enhancement, she gets plus 20% defense, which is definitely a very sizable number. So for her talisman, realistically, you're going to want something, not this. This is god-awful. You're going to want something that's probably going to give her team defense, realistically, or team crit damage or crit chance, depending on what you're really going to be going for. And then the Rogue's Charm gives 10 chain points when attack scores a critical hit. Based on what boss, you could probably do like the Vanguard's Charm. Give her some action points when everybody gets hit. The other one you might be able to do is the Sage Charm. 10 chain points when attacking with an advantageous element. And realistically, if you're only going to be using her into water bosses, that's really helpful if you want to use a Sage Charm. Again, probably focus on maybe, if you want to do defense, you definitely can, but defense doesn't really help everybody else. But if you go with like crit rate or crit damage, it definitely helps everybody. And then do these as defense. I would do like a crit chance, crit damage kind of thing here, rather than defense, because she already does a good amount of damage, and then just load these up with defense bonuses. Alright, now without further ado, now we get to see if your guys' guesses were correct. So I use the basic defense set. Patience set is realistically better. However, with a lot of PvE content, I notice either you're going to take very little amount of damage, or you're going to get ass blasted out of this universe and die in one hit. So it doesn't really make sense to use the patience set if either you're going to get a really, really low bonus from the patience set, or be dead. So to me, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to use anything but the defense set. These aren't very good rolls, but realistically, your stat priority for the defense set, you're probably looking towards defense is your number 1 priority, then crit chance, then crit damage, then maybe some resilience in there as well, just to make sure that you're not getting hit with as many debuffs as possible. And then HP and speed are definitely huge. You definitely do not want any attack. For her weapon and accessory, realistically, I like Exquisite Death, And the reason why I like Exquisite Death is I believe it can roll with defense. Let me take a look really quickly. Where is it? There it is. Yeah, it can roll with defense, which is kind of the whole point of Exquisite Death. I just don't have one. You roll defense Exquisite Death and then increases damage dealt by allies proportional to the defense of the wielder. So now she's buffing everybody else's damage as well. It's just another way to squeak out a little bit of extra damage. Excuse me. And then I like Charmer's Necklace, where it takes 30% of the damage all allies take. And then you do kind of have to give her a little bit of HP. Again, I don't really have I don't have a very good one here. But I believe Charmer's Necklace can roll with accuracy, evasion, heal on hit, and attack. I actually kind of like heal on hit because if she's getting hit, she's going to be healing for portions of that damage, and if she's taking more instances of that damage, she's going to be healing for more, so your priority for healing isn't nearly as high. I do not recommend that for PvP. However, in PvE it does tend to work out pretty well in your favor, because if she's going to be taking all the damage and she's going to be getting healing from hit, by the time you need to heal everybody is about the time that she also was going to need healing. By the time you need to heal your squishies, she's probably also going to need healing, because her taking that 30% damage is definitely very, very helpful for keeping your squishies alive. I like using Ray with her, and Ray is very, very squishy. I mean, she's only got 9,000. My Ray only has 9,000 HP, whereas my Kappa has 14,000. So she's got an extra 5,000 health on my Ray. That 5,000 health definitely goes down a lot when you take 30% of the damage that Ray would take and give it to Kappa instead. So they all kind of need to be healed around the same point anyways. You don't necessarily need Charmer's Necklace. You could probably run with something else. That is just what I found that I really like using. You can use Unholy Exultet if you really want to with a defense focus. Makes it to where you just don't take as much damage because the enemy team is going to go down with their attack. Fool's Dawn, I don't like Fool's Dawn because she already generates enough barriers herself for everybody. Again, Charmer's Necklace. Then we have Blue Gem's White Ring. 50% chance to increase the priority of the wearer by 10% when hit. I don't really like that one either because realistically Kappa actually tends to fall into a pretty good speed tier that she's still going to be getting her turns pretty regularly. So she isn't so slow that the bosses are going to be hitting twice, but she's also not fast enough that she's going to be hitting twice. She's just going to be barely faster than a lot of different bosses, unless the boss is designed to be faster. I think she matches or is a little bit higher than Tyrant Toddler when it comes to speed. So that's realistically where you want to keep her for a lot of those boss fights. The other one is Coward's Treasure. I don't really like Coward's Treasure because she doesn't really benefit a lot from counterattacking. And Coward's Treasure also doesn't really have that great of focuses here either. For her other weapon, Talisman of Animosities, priority to the caster when using a single target skill. The problem is that her S3 and her S2 both are not single target skills. The only one that is her S1. And the S1 then gets turned into an AoE effect because it will proc Exile sometimes. And so that makes it very difficult to use that consistently. Force Field Generator, again, I don't really like it because she does generate a lot of barriers already, and this is arguably a worse barrier because this one will be based off of HP rather than attack. The other one, Token of Supreme Witch, 50% chance to remove one debuff from the caster when performing an action. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You have an S3 for cleansing as is, so if you get hit with so many debuffs, you have an S3 to cleanse. I don't think this is really worth it because then your allies in a PvE match are also still going to have those debuffs, which you're going to want to cleanse anyway. Again, you have to kind of look at this in a mindset of PvE oriented, and so a lot of PvP terms don't really apply. Otherwise, I would say this is probably really great for PvP. For PvE, not so great. I don't think it's really worth it. The other one is God Hand Crush. Before attacking, has a 50% chance to reduce action points of the target by 15. No, that one's just pure bad. Unless you're using it for PvP, and even then there are so many better choices. Which is why I inevitably land on Exquisite Death, trying to get that defense focus. Increases damage dealt by allies proportional to the defense of the whaler. That is just the traditional thing, and I'm not even going to go over these ones. I don't think that they're even really... That one's not great. That one's not great. That one's not great. And that one's also not great. None of the new ones are really great for her anyways. So, with that, I'm going to leave this one here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys found this entertaining, informative, and somewhat enjoyable. And I hope you guys really do consider getting Kappa and maybe the new skin for her. It is really cute. I like it a lot. She's very helpful if you're struggling with any of those water bosses. She definitely is worth building. And there are a lot of good team comps with her. Okay. Anyway, I will leave this one here. Thank you guys. I really do appreciate it, and thank you guys for hitting 50 subs. I know I made a community post about it, but I wanted to at least shout it out in the next video I uploaded after it had happened. I'm super happy. I'm very proud that we were able to get to 50 subs. I'm hoping we can get to 100 before the end of February. I was going to say January. However, we're halfway through January already. So my goal is to get 100 subs before February. If we can manage to hit 100 subs before February, maybe I'll do like a raffle or something. I'm not sure. I will figure it out. And when I figure it out, I will let you guys know. And if Kappa can go 5 seconds without interrupting me, that would be great, while I end this video here. Once again, thank you guys. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.